So it's coming towards the end of winter now, and we have some bare root trees that we used for assessments with the RHS exams. This is a field maple, and it is just starting to swell on the bud, so I really need to get these in so that, well, really before they go into leaf, so they don't lose moisture and die really. Bare root trees are very useful as a source of tree because they are considerably cheaper than container grown plants, but obviously you are restricted in that you can only plant them when the leaves have fallen. Okay, so here I've got an area that I'm going to plant this tree. I have already removed the grass and just kept it to one side. Now I'm going to excavate the remainder. I'm going to take all the decent soil and put it to one place, and if I get any subsoil I'm going to place that separately and keep the two separate piles. If this was on a lawn, I would put some polythene or a board down so I'm not staining the lawn with my spoil, but I'm just going to get the pit out now. Tried to keep my spoil all in one place so as to minimise the amount of staining I do on the ground around it, but also to ensure that I can get it all back in the hole without treading all over it and squashing it, then you end up losing half your soil. It's looking like I'm not going to have to separate my heaps. It's looking like it's mostly topsoil to the depth that I wanted to go down at. Don't be frightened to get into the hole, it's often easier on your back to do that. I'm just going to offer the roots up. I keep the roots bagged to prevent them drying out because it is coming towards spring and I don't want them drying out. There will be a field mark on the tree which you can just about see just there, and I just make sure that that is level with or below ground, and I can see that I'm not too shabby there. I probably just need to go a tiny bit more. I'll keep the bag on the roots. Oops. I'll keep the bag on the roots just to prevent the roots from drying out. Don't forget, it is bare root, there is no soil around the roots, it is purely bare root at the moment. I am just getting a little bit of subsoil now, so I'm just going to keep that separate to the better soil. Which, if you want to get your 10 out of 10, that's a good thing to do. Just keep your soil separate, your subsoil slightly separate from your topsoil. So, now then, the next stage of the operation in the hole is to get a fork and just fork the sides of the hole just to make it easy or easier for the roots as they grow outwards to penetrate the side walls, but it also removes any smearing that may have occurred during the excavation operation. And now I'm going to put a stake in the hole. The stake is normally put in on the windward side, which on this plot is there. So I'm going to be using a drive awl for this, although you can use a mallet, but we've got a drive awl. When you're using a drive awl, be careful not to lift it completely off the post. I have had students lift it up here and end up plonking themselves on the head, so just be aware of that. Check that for levelability. Let's get a couple more knocks. Okay. My next task then is to offer the tree roots up to the stake, and I want them to be as close as I can so that the tree stem and the stake run parallel. Obviously if I go too far away, when I stake the tree will be drunk at a drunk angle, so I want it to be as nice and parallel as I can to there. And what I'm going to do now is, you can actually put your tree tie on there while you're doing this, but I think I can get away with it. I'm going to put a bit of this fine better soil around the roots just to hold it in place for me. Okay, and then I'm going to chop it up a bit nice and fine and get that in around the roots. So I'm using the finer soil that's been chopped up around the roots initially. Oh, that's the subsoil, so I use that in a bit. Once you've half filled your hole, it's always a good policy just to give your tree a little bit of a shake, just to get any soil into any voids in the root structure, and then I'll put the remainder of the good soil in. Okay, good soil in. At this stage now, I'm just going to very lightly tread to remove any massive air pockets, which it'll stop the water from escaping too quickly. I'm not compacting the soil, I'm just merely consolidating it to give the tree a little bit more structural support, but also to prevent any irrigation water washing away. I'm now going to put the remainder of the soil in. This bit here, which was slightly poorer quality, out the hole. Okay. Again, trying to avoid treading on where the soil's been, so I don't. It makes clearing up a whole lot easier if you do that. Now, because these are planted in the field margin, there is some natural vegetation here which I chopped off earlier. I'm going to now place that in the hole, but upside down, so it doesn't grow and it does actually rot down and provide some food to the roots. Just turn that upside down, give it a better chance to rot. I'm just then going to firm that again, just lightly firm it. Again, just to give the roots a little bit more structural stability. Next process is the tree tie. When putting a tree tie on, I always point the tab down towards the spacer and place it like that, and then we loop through the tree, as I'll show you, with the spacer between the post and the tree. I'm just going to give that a little bit more. It's sometimes a bit easier if you do that. So the spacer is between the tree and the stake. I then put it through the first part of the buckle and pull it tight. Now you'll see why I did that, because that tab there will lock that onto place and enable me to put the tree tie in like that. When field planting, the next step would probably be to put a clout nail there to stop the tie from falling down the stake, but these trees are going to be reused year after year for assessment, so I'm not going to follow that step. Finally, I would apply mulch to it and water it. Good.
Okay.